Hi, this is Dave Schwensen, author of The Beatles at Shea Stadium, and you're listening to the Fab4Free4All.
Hi, folks. This is Mitch Axelrod. The guys and I receive many emails with comments about the show or suggestions for future shows. And sometimes we receive submissions, CDs and the like from musical performers who have been influenced by the Beatles. Well, last week, however, the guys and I received a curious package. It contained only an old cassette tape with the words Nasty Recalls 1972 on the label. Well, we gave it a listen, and yes, it sure was nasty. Ron Nasty of the Rutles. What came from our rusty old cassette deck was a never-before-heard Ron Nasty interview with Jonn Hammburger of Rolling Stone magazine from 1972, a piece of music history that was, until now, considered forever lost, or purposely misplaced. Part of this interview saw light of day in Nasty Recalls, published by Penguin Batman paperbacks, but right here, now, is even more of the truly revealing, honest, and sometimes confusing words from the brains of the Rutles, Ron Nasty. Enjoy.
So, Ron, I have to ask, it's the inevitable question, why did the Rutles come to an end? Mick Jagger once commented that he thought women were behind the breakup. And do you agree with that?
Somebody's been doing their own work, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, of course I agree with it. He said yes.
Yeah.
And, I've heard, not that I'm any expert on these matters, but if you ask the kind of question that the only answer is yes, and it's a crap question.
Yes, it is a fairly lousy question, actually.
No, Mick was right, it's sure showed a fan. Women always getting in the way.
Yeah.
That's the thing about women, Women generalize and men don't.
That's true. I can agree with that.
It's not just true, it's profound.
Yeah. Well, I expect nothing less, actually. Your former partner, Dirk McQuickley, he on his first album, he enclosed a sheet, and it was in the promo copies, and he said that he was leaving the Rutles. And how did you feel about that Dirk made the announcement?
Well, I feel about it the same way, those silly rumours that started up, like Dirk is deaf. There's an awful lot of that stuff that just goes on out there, When he wanted to leave, well, he wanted to come back, and he wanted to leave, people come and go, That's the nice thing about, people come and people go. Let's be natural.
When did it first come into your mind that there might be a solo Ron Nasty? When did it come into your mind that there could be a time without the Rutles?
When the other three left. When I was on my own, I thought I'd better do a solo.
Yeah. And in your early solo records, one of your early solo albums, there was the Question song. There was the song that a lot of people say was an attack on Dirk McQuickley. Which Way Do You Sleep? That was from Picture This, your solo album. Was that some sort of response to accusations?
Well, Dirk went through a kind of comic book fantasy phase, and for a while he was wearing these black kind of clothes and hanging upside down, like who, with the mobile and the special, signal from the commissioner, So I thought it kind of be nudge him out of it by sort of saying, "How do you sleep?"
Yeah.
Upside down or whatever, But I lost that verse because it wasn't, didn't scan.
Do you see Dirk at all? Do you still see Dirk McQuickley at all?
Only in my nightmares.
But there's no relationship then right now?
No, Dirk is a law unto himself, like we're all laws unto ourselves, we're all individuals. We have our rights to be individual, and power to you. If you want to be who you are, it's who else are you going to be? I'm having the time of my life. So are you. Aren't we all? And what choice have we got? We haven't got any other time. I love time. Time is fascinating to me, especially, things like infinity. I love infinity. I just can't get enough of it.
It just goes on and on, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, like this interview.
You had a relationship with Stig O'Hara after the Rutles broke up, and you managed to communicate with him through TM.
Yeah. It's transcendental medication.
Yeah, and that helped to bridge the gap.
Absolutely, because he was the quiet one, and sometimes he was so quiet, well, he used to fall asleep a lot, and then we'd sort of put white makeup on his face, and pretend he was a mime, and we'd whisper in his ear, like, sort of, you are in a car park, showing people where to go, and you think you're Marcel, and it was rotten, really. It's a nasty trick, because it used to disturb him quite a bit, He'd wake up sort of simpering, not screaming, just simpering, sort of going, like that, just simpering.
There was also the time that you guys accidentally packed him in one of the road cases. I remember reading about that, and that was very upsetting, I think, to stick to, because he'd been so quiet at one of the gigs.
Well, you couldn't, sometimes you couldn't tell he was there, and I think it's quite easy for him to be sort of scooped up with some of the gear, and stuffed in something, but that was his choice, he's an individual, and he's, I suppose he's only in the band because he can actually play, he can play anything, Stig. But, we found him in the end, he'd lost weight, but it looked good.
Barry Wham, after leaving the Rutles,
the noisy one. He's the noisy one,
and he surprised everyone. I think with he had a remake of Lonnie Donegan's "Putting on the Style" that he recorded in his hairdressing salon.
I know,
actually, but all of you guys got involved and really got behind Barry.
Well, I know, because Barry, bless him, he is a taste-free zone. And, the cover, he wanted on the cover, we talked him out of it, but he wanted a big kind of woolly jumper, like an Irish balladeer, leaning over a gate with some sheep behind, the essential Barry one. And we talked him out of that, but, no, he's good. He rocks on, and, it's not just the hairdressing, it's chocolate. He does all kinds of homemade chocolates.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's quite a chocolatier.
Wow.
And he's had several kind of companies, and they've all gone a bit bust. But he'll get back to whacking things again.
I would imagine. When he decides to start whacking things again, will you and the other band members help?
Well, it depends what he's whacking.
Yeah. Now, at this point, would you ever think about a reunion with the other members? So all four of you getting back together and doing something?
Yeah, I think the four of us should get back together again, and just to sort of remind people how rotten we were. No, I'm with Mick on this.
Still the women.
Still the women, and if the other three get together, well, it's up to them, but, I'm not. I'm definitely not. I'm off on my own. I've turned my back on it all, I've got better things to do,
I know you've done a lot of work with Chastity. Will all of your future albums include Chastity, and if so, why?
I think I might even, not make any more albums for a while, for 20 years or more, I'm really into doing things with my hands, I like putting up shelves. Shelving, is an art. You can have, some shelves you can't see how they're supported, but they've got little spike things that you screw to the wall, and they slot into holes in the back of the shelf. So, it looks like the shelf is just there on the wall by itself. And some kind of more Baroque and Rococo, the big chunky wood, gnarled, chunky wood, ornate, with stuff carved in it, I fancy doing a bit of carving. It's like, get a sharp knife and carve something. It's good for you,
And there was actually rumor briefly that you were going to do an album just of the sound of you doing the carving.
I've done it. I've done it actually.
We're waiting for that to come out. Is that it?
Yeah. It's difficult because we had one or two problems with the levels, and then and one track was banned because I hit my thumb, and they had to bleep me.
We know the banning, and you've gone through so much of that, having things be banned by the BBC.
Well, what's the point? What's the point of doing stuff that if the people don't want it, they don't want it. Even if it's good for them, they don't want it. I'd have thought, an album, sometimes, when you're really busy, tapping away at a chisel, it can be quite up tempo. And other times, you sort of got to take a bit more care, so you sort of scrape it. It's like a difference between a kind of boogaloo and a ballad in carving terms, But, there's still plenty more kinds of shells, lots of different kinds of shells.
And there would probably be a niche for that kind of music.
A niche? Is that what you say?
A niche.
In France, they say, it's a niche. Niche. I don't know about you, but every time I go to France, I get déjà vu.
One of the critics in our magazine had made a comment a few years back, wanted to know how you felt about that. He said that the Rutles music was the soundtrack of the 60s, or at least particularly September 23rd, 1967. Do you have a thought about that?
I think he could have been more specific, like telling what time it was. It was between 6:30 and 8:30 in the evening. That's in the days when it took up to 2 hours. We started off, it was 20 minutes, but later on they took up to 2 hours.
Stepping away from the music, your other great love and your great talent as an author. And Out of Me Head was, of course, a huge success. Will you ever write another book? Because the title of that last book that you wrote, This is Absolutely Ron Nasty's Last Book and There Will Never Be Another, was a bit vague. Do you see another book?
I don't see another book. I kind of hear another book, I thought I'd do a book about finality, because there's a certain finality to things coming to an end and not ever being done again. And I don't think we've looked at that enough. Like if you have a sporting event, it's sort of, there's all these people doing things, and then there's half as many, and then there's half as many again, and it ends up with like two teams, and one of them that's the final, you see? See what I mean by finality? And then everyone has to go home. And so I think I can hear a book about that, But as for writing it down, no, I haven't got time. I'm too busy with the shells.
Finally, I have to say, 5 years later, after the song was first written, do you still find yourself enjoying cheese and onions? I don't mean the song, I mean the actual condiments themselves.
It's soul food, isn't it? Cheese and onions. I mean, if you think about cheese itself, and Napoleon was quite interested on that. He said about, England. He said, that the English were a nation of shopkeepers, but he was quite down on the French and all, because he was from Corsica. He said of the French, that any nation that can make over 400 cheeses is ungovernable. So cheese, in itself is a subject, it's up there with shelving. And as for an onion is special, isn't it? Because, you look at the outside and say, oh, there's an onion. You take a bit off, there's another onion. And it's a bit like human beings in a way. If you think we all come from embryos, and then we're born, and then from that baby you turn into a toddler, and then a school child, and then a teenager, and then, a binge drinker or whatever, and in my case, like a sex god, But, like Russian dolls, where do these people go? They're all inside one another, like an onion. So, yeah, cheese and onions is soul food. It'll never go out of style.
That's
never.
Yeah, it's very profound.
Ever. Like some shelves,
Well, there you have it. Just absolutely shocking and stunning. Nothing else to say, I myself now have to leave and go to Home Depot. So thank you for listening, everybody.
Fab4Free4All was edited and produced by Tony Chiguardo at Word of Mouth Studios in Westbury, New York. The opening and closing theme is Not Alone by Barry Waller. Be sure to visit our website at www.fab4all.com.